In this week's parasha, Parashat Vayikra, we have the famous Dvar Torah, the very first word of the parasha, the very first word of this third sefer of the Torah. It says Vayikra with a small letter Aleph, known as the Aleph Ze'ira. Ze'ira in Aramaic means small, the small letter Aleph. And we spoke at length in the previous recording, as well as last year, but the famous approach, why is there a small aleph over here? Because it refers to Moshe Rabbeinu's humility. As the Baal HaTurim explains, when Rashi teaches us that Vayikra is a language of love, of chiba, of closeness, it connotes that Hashem wants to be as close as possible to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was humble, he couldn't handle it. Yet anava, Hashem, please don't let everybody know that you're Vayikra, that you're calling out to me. Rather, use the language of Vayikar, drop the aleph, which is a more power of word. It's symbolizing it just kind of happened that you spoke to me, you bumped into me, and gave me this message that you communicated to me. Make it a much lighter. He was trying to be an anav, and therefore the small aleph is Hashem saying, okay, Moshe, you desire to be humble, you want to be smaller, I'll make it aleph, but I'm not going to remove the letter aleph. I'm still going to use the language of Vayikra because I want to be really close to you. Because that's the famous Dvar Torah. We spoke about that at length already in 2 previous recordings. Okay, but there's one problem with this approach. Because this is not the first time that we have the language of Vayikra, of calling out to in connection to Moshe Rabbeinu. If you already back it up to Parshat Yitro, around the giving of the Torah, so ultimately Hashem calls Moshe Rabbeinu up to the mountain to teach him the whole Torah. So it says, Vayered Adonai al Har Sinai al Rosh Har, and Hashem comes down to Har Sinai, to the top of the mountain, Vayikra Hashem le Moshe, and it says Hashem calls out to Moshe, El Rosh Har Vaya al Moshe, he says, come up, and Moshe Rabbeinu comes up the mountain to go and learn the Torah. It says over there, Vayikra Hashem le Moshe, the word Vayikra written normally, a normal size aleph. Fast forward to Parashat Mishpatim as well. It says that Hashem calls out to Moshe from the clouds, from the Anan, Vayikra el Moshe, Bayom HaShvi mitoche Anan. Again, with the language of Vayikra, and it's a normal size aleph. So what's going on over here? Why is it a normal size aleph? I thought, okay, well, why doesn't Moshe Rabbeinu fight back in Yitro? Why doesn't Moshe fight back in Parashat Mishpatim? Hashem, make a small aleph. But over there by Matan Torah, it's okay to have a normal size aleph. So what's going on over here? So I heard a different approach a few years ago, and I found a little bit more on it as well this year, explaining that a different angle for why there is a smaller aleph. Okay, so it says as follows. When Moshe Rabbeinu went up on Har Sinai to learn the Torah from Hashem, so according to some of the Mekubalim, he was uplifted to the highest level of understanding. He was able to reach the level of what's known as the 50th level of the Shaar Binah, the Shaar Nun, the 50th gate of wisdom. Moshe Rabbeinu was able to understand everything. Now there is a bit of a machloket if Moshe only makes it to the 49th or the 50th, but according to this approach in the Kabbalah, Moshe Rabbeinu goes up to Har Sinai. When Hashem reveals himself to Moshe, teaches him the Torah, Moshe reaches the highest level possible. He reaches the level of the Shaar Nun. And that's why the Vayikra is in normal letters, because it's the full calling out, it's the full connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Moshe Rabbeinu is being revealed everything that's humanly possible to understand when it comes to Torah and when it comes to Hashem. But then Am Yisrael sins with the Egel HaZahav. And after the golden calf happens, Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, Lech red. You gotta go down. And Chazal tells us, what do you mean red, go down? It says, red migdulatecha. You have to go down from your greatness. You cannot be so high and so holy and learning this 50th level and getting to the highest levels if your nation down below, if your flock down below, if your son are so low, the leader can only make it so great if his people are with him. You gotta go down. You gotta go save them. You gotta be there. But now, lech red migdulatecha, say Chazal, you gotta go down from your high level of holiness. You can't be on this high level anymore. And the Mekubalim explain, what does it mean they have to go down from this level? He's going to have to go down from the level of 50, and he's going to lose one level. He's going to lose the Shaar Nun and go down to the 49th level. And that's why it says, Lech, what is Lech? Lech is the letters Lamed Kaf. Lamed is 30, Kaf is 20, which is added together is 50. He was on the level of Lech, the level of 50. And then he says, go down. And now he has to go down. He goes down to the level of 49. The red is you lose one level, you're going down. You lose the Shaar Nun. And that's why it says in the Gemara Rosh Hashanah, Kaf Aleph Amud Bet, it says Moshe Rabbeinu, he reached, Hashem gave him everything, revealed to him everything. He got 50, Haser Echad, -1, missing 1. So I heard a great question. Pinchas asked, what do you mean chaser echad? What do you mean you lose 1? It's just say you got 49. So you had mem tet level of bina. What does it mean? You reached the 50, you learned the 50 gates of bina, the 50 sharei bina. But then it says Haser Echad, missing one. Why did it say Haser Echad? Oh, you know why? Because Moshe Rabbeinu had reached level of 50. When he went up into Har Sinai, when Hashem called him up to the mountain, come into the clouds, the full Vayikra with the full letter Aleph, he was learned even the 50th level. But then he lost it. He lost it when Hashem says, Lech, red, Lech, 50, red, go down, you got to lose one. So he had the level of 50, but now Haser Echad, he lost one. It had to go down because you have to be on the same level as your people. And we said in the past as well, that ultimately at the end of his life, it says he's going to go up from when he dies, he's going to go up from Arvot Moab, he's going to go up from the plains of Moab. Moab is Gematria 49, and he's going to go up to Har Nevo. He's going to go back up to a mountain. This time it's Har Nevo. Har Nevo is also the same letters as Nun Bo, the mountain with the 50th gate. So Moshe Rabbeinu was able to reach back that level of greatness, get back to 50, but that's only going to be at the very end of his life. And actually the Haidah comes along and says there was another guy that was very great too in Jewish history, a little bit after Moshe Rabbeinu's time, actually many years in the future. There was the great rabbi known as Rabbi Akiva, and the Gemara teaches us that Hashem took Moshe Rabbeinu to the future to listen to a shiur of Rabbi Akiva, and Moshe Rabbeinu got a little bit upset. He got weak. He said, "Oh my God, I can't understand what's going on over here." And so the Mekubalim explain that Rabbi Akiva was teaching the Shaar Nun, because Rabbi Akiva had the ability to understand the Shaar Nun, and in his lifetime was even teaching it, and Moshe Rabbeinu was listening, and he can't understand, and he's all upset. And he actually tells Hashem, "Why didn't you give the Torah through Rabbi Akiva?" But then eventually he listens a little bit more, and he hears Rabbi Akiva says, "Oh, everything I learned is Halakha Moshe Sinai," whatever that exactly means. Actually, I saw one approach says it means because Moshe Rabbeinu is going to get there at the end of his life, and at this point, when he's seeing the future, he might not be there right now because he had lost it from the Egel. But the idea is that Rabbi Akiva was able to reach this level, and I heard that's why that when we call it an Aleph Ze'ira, we call it a small letter Aleph. What does Ze'ira stand for? The Ze'ira stands for Ze Rabbi Akiva Yasigoto. The same letters as Ze Rabbi Akiva Yasigoto. Rabbi Akiva will reach the level of the 50th. Says the Arizal, says the Holy Arizal, that after the Egel Hazahab, what really took place? He says Moshe Rabbeinu lost Aleph Orot. 1,000 lights left Moshe Rabbeinu. 1,000 levels of some kind of great light that Moshe Rabbeinu had was gone after the Egel HaZahav. And he says there is a certain zechut that on the Shabbatot, Moshe Rabbeinu was able to get that helik back on the Shabbatot, but in general, Moshe Rabbeinu had lost the 1,000 orot. The Haidah writes that this great level of knowledge can also be known as one gate of the 50, meaning the highest gate, the Shaar Nun, the 50th gate. That symbolizes, so to symbolize that the 1,000 missing lights are gone, that to symbolize that the 50th gate is gone. That's why in our parasha, when Hashem calls out to Moshe Rabbeinu now, the Vayikra is small. The Aleph is tiny to tell us two things. The Aleph, same letters as Aleph, the 1,000 lights are gone. The one Sha'ar Binah, or at least the majority of that, actually says this year, the Shivei Pinchas is a beautiful Dvar Torah, that there is a 1/1000th of it still left in Moshe Rabbeinu, and that's the Koach to pray for Refuah Shlemaz, Yud Lamed Yud. You can check that Dvar Torah over there with some deep mystical ideas. But right over here in our parasha, why is there a small Aleph now, but earlier on there was a large Aleph? Because earlier on was pre-Chet Egel, by Matan Torah time, Moshe Rabbeinu was really able to reach that highest level, at least for that short period of time. But then after the Het Egel, he sins, it goes down, he loses that level, the 1,000 lights leave, the Elef Orot are gone, the 50th gate is gone, and that's why the Vayikra in our parasha is a tiny little Aleph. Shabbat Shalom.